So there's no one new today, so I don't think I'll start a refresh of our topics all the way from the beginning. I'll just get a brief overview of what we've done so far. So far, we started off by just looking at the question that we're answering this term. Listen, aren't I rocking this beard, huh? Yikes. I only see it now on this screen. I look like the Apostle Paul. Okay. We started off with with just looking at the questions that we want to answer this year. This term, where am I going? What is my destiny? And that forms part of my identity, because whatever I'm working towards, that destiny, like what I become, will be truly what I am. Like truly what I am, that is what I'm going to in the end manifest. If I am a teacher, minimize my own picture. Okay, if I am a teacher, like that is what I am in terms of, that is definitely what I am. Like I'm a teacher. So no matter in what context you're going to put me, I'm going to find a way to teach. And as a result, whatever my ultimate destiny is, whatever I'm ultimately going to reach in life, that is going to speak into who I am, and who I am is going to speak into that. So that's why this question of who am I, what is my destiny, what is my potential in life, obviously they are so closely connected to one another. So so that is why we are doing this topic this term, and I have been loving it so much. It's been amazing. First thing that we did after that was goal setting goals, learning just how valuable, important it is. Yes, Tyler.
So do you know how, so for the dynamic students, is the marks going to be taken out of what we're discussing or out of the books that you've given us to read?
So at the end, there is currently an assignment that is up for you guys to do, based on last week's topic that we did. So I'll discuss it for you guys. Okay, cool. So then we're talking about goal setting, how important it is, how most people don't write their goals, and those that do write down their goals actually accomplish their goals. So what an incredible, simple thing to get yourself on a road to success. That's what we're talking about, being successful, and depends on how you define that. Okay, I won't go say everything I've said so far. Went into goal setting, then after that, we went into, let me just make sure I don't miss anything. Okay, wait. After goal setting, we spoke about your unlocking your potential. In other words, that you are what you mostly think about. You become what you mostly think about. So your mind and how you think, what you think, manifests in reality. And that, I mean, it sounds very airy-fairy, but it's absolutely true. Like if you have a mindset that you fear everything, then that's going to manifest, because you won't attempt certain things. You won't try certain things. It's going to have an effect on how you live your life. If you think that you're unlucky, like you just think you're an unlucky person, you won't take chances. And so if you don't take chances, you don't get opportunities. So things like that is unlocking your potential, was all about changing the way that you think. And there were two very important things is we needed to realize, is that it is my personal responsibility. Speaking to a friend this weekend, to change. It's my personal responsibility to change, and my success is only in my hands. Speaking to a friend this weekend that weighs 127 kilograms. When he was in matric, he weighed 87 kilograms. And I'm just like, dude, it's your weight. Like, it's no one else's weight. Like, no one else is going to take control of your weight. It's your weight. Like, no one else is going to be responsible for that. So that's the first thing, is taking personal responsibility for yourself and everything that surrounds you, and realizing that you have unlimited potential. When you get those two things, those are the two crucial things to get right in your mind. I can't accuse anyone. I can't blame anyone. I can't blame any circumstances. Yes, you might have had a crappy hand dealt to you. I know I had growing up. a crappy hand dealt to me. And what am I going to live with that? Or am I going to take a responsibility and change that because I can, because I've got unlimited potential? Okay, so then the next thing is last week's topic was the topic of choosing to change. That to change, all of us need to change, because every problem that you've ever faced is your problem. Okay, if you face the problem, it's not someone else's problem. It's a problem because it's your problem, and you need to deal with that. And the only thing that you can control in a situation to overcome a problem is yourself. You can't control anything else. Okay, all other things are outside of your hands, but one thing you can control, one thing that's in your hands to control, is yourself. Which means in order to overcome problems in your life, you have to change. You have to choose to change. And that was the power of decision, that you can literally. So for example, for my friend, he needs to make a decision that my weight is unacceptable and I need to change. I need to, and it's the way he eats. Obviously, it's a lack of exercise. It's just those two things. But he needs to make that decision. And it's simply a decision that you make and that you start applying in your life every single day. Okay. And so it all went, we watched that little video last week of attitude. I can't remember what the title of the video was, but the whole point is you can literally become anything. And this is what the assignment for the grade 10, 11 dynamic students is also about. It's about becoming something that you're not something that you're not, but to change something about yourself by changing the way that you think and embodying that personality. So last week I asked you to think of something that you would like to be different about yourself. So I don't know if some of you would like to share what you thought about. You could, for example, have thought of yourself as that you're an organized person. I use that as an example, how that actually changed my life through something that Hannah said, that she's an organized person. And because she's an organized person, she is well organized. Like, it is an identity change. And that's the whole point. All change is identity change. Okay, so in the challenge, in the video, there was a challenge that for 30 days you take on a new identity and you live and act and think as if it's already true about you. Are there any of you that would have the boldness to share what identity you are going to embody for the next 30 days? I'll give some examples, like I'm an organized person, or I'm a confident person.
For me,
Yes, Danielle?
yeah, for me, it's I want to be a disciplined person.
Oh, that's an excellent one. I love that. Okay, you're a disciplined person. Have you already started? Or have you neglected?
A little bit, but it is really tough.
It is really tough. But remember, Danielle, you're a disciplined person.
That's true.
You can do it. Okay, you are a disciplined. Okay. Karina says she's copying you. Okay. I think it's an excellent one. It's really good. Anyone else?
I would say it's the same, because I also want to become a bit more like with my schoolwork as well, become more disciplined, wake up not really early, but wake up early, do my schoolwork and still have exercise and be a healthy and disciplined person.
Yeah, sure. I really like that word. I've not put it in anywhere, but I like it. It's a brilliant one. Okay, cool. Be a disciplined person. Okay, so what that means is that you need to think about, Tyler, I'll let you go just now, but you need to think about, like, what is a discipline, what does it look like to be a disciplined person? How do disciplined people think? How do they act? How do they speak? What times do they wake up in the morning? Like, you need to now act as if you are a disciplined person, because you are a disciplined person. Because remember, the decision, the change happens in your mind. So when you choose to be a disciplined person, you are a disciplined person. Okay, so now that change just needs to take effect in every area of your life. So you are a disciplined person. And now you just need to start, what is that word? Like living it out, like manifesting it. Does that make sense? But you need to make that decision. Cool. Tyler, what was yours?
I think it's, to me, a more calm person, because like I can get very, I don't know, agitated with people. So I get very angry very quickly. So just to be able to step away in those situations,
Okay.
it's probably my goal.
You're a calm and patient person. Good. That is brilliant as well. Okay, so again, you need to spend some time thinking about why does that look like? And you need to identify when you respond in a way that you know, no, that doesn't fit my identity. I am a calm and patient person. So when I overreact, you obviously need to immediately fix that. If you overreact in a situation, immediately respond. Say, okay, no, that is not what I'm sorry I reacted like that. It's not like me. Yeah, apologize or whatever. Do you understand? So it really needs to take effect in your life, but you need to think about it constantly. It needs to permeate your conscious mind until it becomes part of your unconscious way of responding. I hope that makes sense. Cool. Okay. Anyone else? Karma.
I believe that I am a courageous person because I step out of my comfort zone and embark in new things that I would be totally afraid of ever doing in my life, and trying to hide from them, even though I know that that might be the best thing I've ever done in the future.
Oh, that is amazing. Well said. Bukama, I love it. I'm a courageous person. What? Yeah, that is stunning. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. Okay, cool. I think you guys get the idea. I'll tell you mine. It's a little bit embarrassing, but I'll tell you. I'm also a courageous person. I want to be funny. Okay. I want to be fun to be around, and full of joy, full of laughter. I'm a bit serious, I think, in most cases. So I don't always think my friends enjoy being around me. I don't know, but I doubt it. I want to be more funny and fun, no, not I want to be. I am funny and fun and excited and full of joy. And so I have been since last week. I started doing this, and it's really had an impact in my life. I've really been having a ball, just being fun and laughing more at my kids when they do something silly than shouting at them for doing something stupid. So it's been actually, I've loved it. I've really had a wonderful week just being fun and funny, and yeah, it's been good. I've enjoyed having a bit of a change in that sense. Okay, cool. Let me start today's topic. Okay, before I do start today's topic, I just want to quickly get to the last few slides of last week. Okay, so you remember last week, this is what we ended up on, is all lasting change must be identity change. In other words, you are not going to become, the aim is not for you to become, to eat healthy. The aim is to become a healthy person. The aim is not to become, to be more organized. The aim is to be an organized person. In other words, it's identity change. And obviously, what is going to stop us from making those changes is, again, limiting beliefs. So two of the limiting beliefs that we have and why we don't change is, one is we think that people say, I don't like change. Like, I know my wife is a chartered accountant. Like, that is such a typical thing for accountants, is that they don't like change. They like things to be in a specific way, but because they don't like change, they don't want to change. Okay. And so if you are going to have the mindset like, I don't like change or I can't change, that's a limiting belief. If you believe that you don't like change or you can't change, then you won't change, which means you won't become successful. Okay, not the type of success that you really can achieve. Because when you get to a problem, what's going to happen? Everything else must change. You can't change, and you can't change other things. You can change yourself. So you need to reframe. Remember, with limiting beliefs, is identify something that robs you of success or of that limits your potential. What do you do with limiting beliefs? You reframe them and you start believing new things that are positive and overcoming. And it's simple. Everything and anything about you can change. Your weight can change. Your health can change. Your attitude can change. Your personality can change. Everything about you can change by making good decisions. Now, obviously, I mean, certain things, like, I doubt you can really change your skin color or your if you have, like, I can't get my hair to grow. Okay. But maybe I can change the way I feel about those things. Do you understand? Because they're not robbing me of anything except the way I feel about them. Okay. So I can change it growing from the top. I can let it grow at the bottom. Okay. So everything about you can change. You have to believe that. The second thing is, if I change to overcome, it will lead me to success. So obviously you will start loving change when change starts having a positive effect in your life. You would look for things about you that you can change, because you will know that as I change, better things happen and I can accomplish more, etc. Okay, so then you will start loving change when you realize that when I change, it leads me to more success. That's the one limiting belief, is I don't like change and I can't change. The second limiting belief is that change takes long and is difficult. That's not just a limiting belief, it's just not true. Change is immediate. We already said that last week. It is a change happens in a moment, in one moment. It's making a decision and committing to that decision. Now, the effect of that change, okay, so making a decision to be healthy, that happens in the moment that you make a committed decision. Now, for your body to respond, for your body to be, to obviously to lose the excess weight, or to detox because you've been eating too much sugars and things like that, obviously that takes long, but the change didn't take long because the change needs to happen in your head. Okay, good. That's just the last slide I wanted to get to before we start on today's topic, which is habits. Anyone want to say something or comment on something before we move to today's topic, habits? Cool. Okay, guys. So the idea of habits is that habits is a mechanism for change. So remember what we said is, there's a decision. I make a decision to be healthy, or to improve my understanding of things, or whatever. There's some decision that you make. But now, how does that decision start impacting your life so that the change becomes visible? And this is where habits come in. Okay, so obviously when you make a change, it's not all of a sudden you can just cut off, let's say, 20 kilograms of your weight just in that moment. So how does that change go from making a decision to actually having an impact in your life? And this can be in anything. Maybe you are an excessive spender. You spend your money too easily on rubbish. Okay, there's a lot of things. So obviously, there's a decision to be more conscious of your spending patterns, or of your eating habits and those type of things. And now those habits need to start being affected in your life. or that change needs to start take effect in your life, and that's through habits. Now, the principle behind habits, okay, so principle is like the fundamental truth that that have its effect, that you can rely on, that you can trust. This thing is how this thing is going to work itself out, is called marginal gains. Now, marginal gains, and I'm going to show you a video now that explains it just in a very cool way. But marginal gains means that if I can make small changes over a lot of areas, or small changes every single day, small changes add up to make a big difference. Now, it's very difficult for us to make big changes, like especially in terms of our personality or in terms of our let's say eating habits or exercise routines or study habits or waking up, like all those things. It's very difficult to make a huge jump, but if I can make small changes consistently over time and in many areas, all those small changes makes a huge difference. So let me show you a video that demonstrates that.
The story is about Team Sky, which is Great Britain's professional cycling team. Sometime in the mid-2000s, around 2010, they hired a man. The story is about Team Sky, which is Great Britain's professional cycling team. Sometime in the mid-2000s, around 2010, they hired a man named Dave Brailsford.
Guys, please make notes while you're watching this, so that I'm going to ask you a few questions afterwards, and just so that you can respond. And remember, by writing stuff down, it's external storage, and it puts it also in a more easier accessible place in your mind to recall.
And at the time, Team Sky had a very middle-of-the-road record when it came to performance on the world stage. They had won about 1 gold medal in the last 100 years, from 1908 to 2008. They had never won a Tour de France, the premier event in cycling. And when they hired Dave Brailsford, they said, we would like to change this. We'd like to improve our performance. We'd like to reach a higher level of performance. What's your plan to help us do that? And when they hired Brailsford, he said, I have this strategy called the aggregation of marginal gains. And the way that he described it was the 1% improvement in nearly everything that you do. And so they started by looking at a lot of things you would expect a cycling team to look at. They improved their bike tires and made them slightly lighter. They put a more ergonomic seat on the bike. They had their riders wear biofeedback sensors so they could see how each person responded to the training and practice that they did each day. They had their outdoor riders wear indoor racing suits because they were lighter and more aerodynamic. But then they did a variety of things that you wouldn't expect a cycling team to do. They split tested different types of massage gels to see which one led to the best form of recovery. They taught their riders how to wash their hands to reduce the risk of infection and keep them healthy. They even figured out what kind of pillow led to the best night's sleep for each rider, and then brought that on the road with them to hotels. So Brailsford said, if we can actually execute on this strategy, if we can aggregate all these small changes, these little 1% improvements, then I think we can win the Tour de France in about 5 years. He ended up being wrong. They won the Tour de France in 3 years, and then they repeated again the 4th year with a different rider. And then just last year, they won for the 3rd time in 4 years. And Brailsford's strategy really came to fruition at the Olympics in London in 2012, when they won 70% of the gold medals available. And so what I'd like to start us off with is the idea that small improvements actually can add up to a very significant change in a relatively short period of time. And this is just basic math, all right? If you get 1% better each day over 365 days, you end up 37 times better at the end of the year. If you get 1% worse, you take yourself almost all the way down to 0. Now, you might say, okay, well, 1% improvements are nice, but clearly no one is going to get 1% better every single day. So is that ever enough to accumulate to anything, considering that we're not going to be perfect all the time? And I would argue, yes. In fact, you can get 10 times better if you get 1% better 5 days a week 46 weeks a year, so it's about 230 days in total. That gives you 6 weeks off for holidays, illness, laziness, and just generally not getting things done. But you're still 10 times better at the end of the year. And what I would like to propose is that the way to do this is not by setting better goals for ourselves or at our organizations, but by building better systems and obtaining better habits. In fact, you could say that the goal had never changed. They wanted to win a Tour de France each year. They wanted to win Olympic gold medals. It wasn't the goal that made the difference. Instead, it was their system, the way that they applied those improvements in a 1% basis day after day.
Good. I just have 2 questions. 3 questions, maybe. Yes, Tyler?
So my laptop bugged out from the Wi-Fi, so I only got like the end of the video.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, Tyler, I'll send the link so that you can watch it at some other stage after this. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so here's my question. Any one of you can answer, otherwise I'll target you. What is the aggregation of marginal gains? You can explain it in your own words or the words in the video. Yes, Sharon. Hi, Sharon. I haven't said hi. And you, Lindy, and Corsinati. I haven't seen you guys.
The aggregation of marginal gains means that if you make 1% improvements in everything, you can get better results at
Excellent.
the end.
Excellent. Yes, aggregation means to aggregate is to compound, to put things together. So if the aggregation of marginal gains, this principle is that if you can make small changes, the cumulative effect of those small changes leads to huge results. Good. Very good. Okay, second question. Explain the maths to me. Who wants to attempt to explain the maths to me? His maths is, I'll put it here. Let me try and do it here. Sharon, I know you're going to be able to do it. So I want to give someone else a chance. And if they fail, I'm going to, or if no one wants to, I'm going to give you a chance. Okay. Okay, let's do it. Okay.
So what is the sum for the math?
The sum for the maths, yeah. Okay, let me try and do it on here. So here is it. He says that if you can make 1% change, okay, I'm writing with my mouse, so it's going to look a bit odd. 1% every day for a year improvement. Your change in the end is 37 times greater. Okay, so it's helpful to actually understand the maths, because originally I didn't think much about it, but some of you do compound interest formulas. So how can I get from 1% change to a 37% improvement? You can even use an example if you want to. Okay, so I can't see the screen now, so just speak up.
So I'm not sure how to explain the math, but if I put it all together, I would say if you make a small change every single day for a whole week, you are going to be better at what you tried to do. Let's say on Monday, you're going to be better the next Monday than what you were a week ago. So if you make a change, a small change every day for a whole year or 37 weeks, you're going to be much better at what you wanted to do at the beginning. So small changes are going to make a huge difference.
Yeah, that's definitely the principle. So you're correct. I'm hoping someone can explain to us the maths behind it. Let's go for Sharon. Or Kate, was that you that spoke now?
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Kate. Sharon, how would you explain the maths?
Well, the maths that I saw in the video was that he said 1.01 to the power of 365 days, and then that's when he got the 37.
Very good. Okay, so let me quickly show you. So when you make an investment, maybe you guys might recall that that when you make an investment, that formula, for those of you that's done financial maths now, is that you take your principal plus 1 plus the interest, okay, to the power of the number of times your interest is added. Okay, so let's say you get 10% interest a year, then your I is 0.1, and your N is how many years interest is being added. So whatever your principal is, like let's say 1,000 Rand, you multiply that with 1 plus your interest, which is 0.1, if it's 10% interest, and let's say it's 5 years, then your N is 5, because so N is not really years, it's the number of times that the interest is added. So if I were to then take the, let's see, okay. If I were to take the change, so now our interest is just 1%. In other words, we just make a 1% improvement. So if I take my interest, so it's 1 plus 0.01, okay, that's where the 1.1 comes, but I make that change every single day, which means it's to the power of 365. Then your answer is 37.78. So, okay, I should have done 364. Okay, but the point being, like, it doesn't seem like a lot, guys, but think about this. If you start with 1,000 Rand in your bank account, but tomorrow you increase that amount with 1%. Now, 1% on 1,000 Rand is 10 Rand. So in other words, you just add 10 Rand tomorrow. But the day after that, you must add 1% of 110 Rand. So it's 10 Rand and 1 cent. No, 10 Rand and 10 cents. Okay. Now you have 1,020 Rand. The next day, you must add 10 Rand and 20 cents. So next day is 10 Rand and 20. Wait, sorry, 110.10 plus. Oh, I'm messing it up now. But you guys get the picture. Is when I make the 1% increase, I'm not just increasing from the original what I started with. I'm making an increase of a 1% increase for where I am now. And because I am improving, tomorrow's 1% is going to be more than today's 1%. So the point being that if you do that with 1,000 Rand, just adding 1% every day means at the end, which means I'm simply adding 10 Rand. Can I have 1,000 Rand in the bank and just increase it by 10 Rand today? Yeah, like that's doable, isn't it? And the day after, 10 Rand and 10 cents. Yeah, that's doable. And the day after that, by 10 Rand and about 30 cents, whatever. Yeah, that's doable. But in the end, when you do that, you end up having 37,000 Rand. So that is massive. Like, that's huge. That blew my mind when I finally figured out that the maths actually works out. Okay. Maybe you guys are just not so into the maths as I am. Cool. Next question. I don't know what's going on here. Oh, I'm on the next video. Okay. So I'm going to show you guys. So his point is, like, obviously he's not saying you shouldn't have goals. And near the end, he said there, the way in which you end up accomplishing your goals is not by improving your goals, okay, or changing your goals. Well, obviously you do need to improve your goals. Your goals need to be optimized. But the way that you achieve your goals is not by setting the goals. And his point in the illustration with the what's that? I can't remember the guy's name, but with this team, Team Sky, was that their goal didn't change. What changed, and the reason why they accomplished their goals, is because they developed a system where the end result of the system is the goal. Okay, so in other words, if I build a system, and the system was these small aggregation, these small changes, and these small changes ended up having a huge effect that could accomplish the goal that they had in mind. Okay, so these systems is about the things that you do, these small changes, these, again, change is necessary, small change is possible in our reality, and habits is the way in which we consistently apply those small changes. Okay, so this is what we're talking about today, and what we'll end off now for the next couple of minutes. So we're going to talk about building habits that will lead to the accomplishment of our goals. We've set these goals now, we've optimized it, we are working on our goals every single day. That should be a habit, by the way. Working on our goals every single day, and because that is what we're doing, we now just need a system to put the right types of habits in place that will inevitably lead to these big goals that we've set for ourselves. Okay, so let me show now another video. So the guy speaking here is a guy called, the first guy in the first video, the speaker, as well as the one that's going to show in this video, is a guy called James Clear. Now, James Clear, if you go into exclusive books, the #1 selling book currently is his book called Atomic Habits. And I've read it twice. And I've bought the book to give to people because it is a brilliant book. So I use the audiobook. So it's phenomenal. It's really so simple, so clear. So I would really recommend that you get your hands on that book. As I said, it's an audiobook. I might, so you probably have to buy it, but it's really worth it. I don't know if you guys can get the value out of it, but it's really had an incredible effect in my life. So I'll show you just how in just a moment. So let me show you the video.
And if you were to get one way to think about it is just kind of basic math. Like if you just look at the numbers, if you were able to improve by 1% each day for an entire year, and those gains compound, you would end up 37 times better at the end of the year. And if you were to get 1% worse, you would whittle yourself almost all the way down to 0. What's interesting here is that everybody wants a transformation, right? Everybody wants a radical improvement, we want rapid success. But we fail to realize that small habits and little choices are transforming us every day already. For the rest of this talk, there are 4 stages of habit formation. I'm going to take you through each of those 4. So
Okay, so guys, I just want to say at this point, so what we're going to talk about is how do we end up developing habits that, and what do we need to do in order to develop these habits? So he's going to give now 4 laws that is going to help us to develop habits that can lead to our goals that we want to achieve. In other words, to lead to the success that we're working towards. Okay, so make note of these four goals. Take good notes and make sure that you understand what he's saying. And if you don't, that you can ask questions afterwards.
4 stages are noticing, wanting, Doing and liking. Noticing, wanting, doing, and liking. One of my favorite things about noticing, one of my favorite strategies for discussing it, is called implementation intentions. Many people think that they lack motivation when what they really lack is clarity. They think that they need to get more motivated, that they need willpower in order to execute on a habit. If I just felt like writing, if I just felt like meditating, if I felt like working out, then I would do it. But in fact, they don't have a plan for it, and so they wake up each day thinking, I wonder if I'll feel motivated to write today. I wonder if I'll feel motivated to work out today. But instead, you can take the decision-making out of it by explicitly stating when, where, and how you want to implement the habit. It sounds easy to say, let's just start a plan, let's write down exactly what you should do, and then maybe you'll follow through on it. But of course, we all know that there are challenges that arise. It's not quite that easy. So here's a little strategy that I like to use to make sure you can come up with a better plan of action, and it's called a failure pre-mortem. So the way that it works is you think about the habit, the project, the goal, whatever the most important thing is that you want to work on, and then I want you to imagine, fast forward 6 months from now, and you failed. And then tell the story of why you failed. What happened? What challenges did you encounter? What was it that took you off course? Once you have all that stuff laid out on the table in front of you, you can start to make better choices about how to develop a plan. You can start to have if-then plans. So not only do I want to exercise for 20 minutes on Monday at 5 p.m., but also if I do not exercise because I have to take my kid to practice or whatever, then Tuesday morning at 7 a.m. I will go in, right? You can have ways to adjust for these challenges. Stage 2, wanting. One of the most overlooked drivers of habits and human behavior is our physical environment. And this is an interesting insight about our desires. Your environment often influences them. We want things simply because they are an option, right? Simply because they are in front of us at the time. Thankfully, you don't have to be the victim of your environment. You can also be the architect of it. You can decide to design something to make your good behaviors easier and your bad behaviors harder. So, when it comes to habits, if you want to practice your guitar more frequently, put it right in the middle of your living room so you run across it all the time. If you want to read more, when you make your bed in the morning, take the book you want to read, put it on top of the pillow. When you come back that night, pick it up, read a few pages, go to sleep. Many of our desires are simply shaped because we have an environment that shapes us in that way. So the moral of the story is I've never seen someone stick to positive habits in a consistent fashion in a negative environment. Maybe you can overpower it once or twice. Maybe you can have the willpower to do the right thing on one day. But if you're constantly fighting against those forces, it's going to be very hard to follow through. Stage 3, doing. The important insight here, especially for habits, is that in the beginning, the most important thing is just to shut up and put your reps in. Just make sure that you hone the skill, right? And you can start to think of it, the way that I like to think of it is that any outcome that you wish to achieve is just a point along the spectrum of repetitions. So if you have few reps to more reps, and you can imagine an easy goal, moderate goal, a hard goal, the more reps that you put in, the more likely you are to achieve that goal. Now, what I like to say is you should optimize for the starting line, not the finish line. Right? So often when we think about habits, goals, routines, achievements, it's all about the milestone. We think about how much weight we want to lose, how much money we want to earn, how many subscribers we want to have. It's all fixed on the finish line. But instead, if you can optimize for the starting line and make it as easy as possible to get started and get your reps in, often the outcomes just come as a natural result. Okay, stage 4, liking. The only reason that we repeat behaviors is because we enjoy them, because we like the reward. If we don't enjoy the experience along the way, we're unlikely to stick with it. And that means that you need to figure out ways to bring a reward into the present moment because good habits have a problem. And that problem is that for good habits, the immediate consequence is there. There's a cost that happens in the moment, but the reward is often delayed. So you need to figure out how to bring the reward into the present moment to stick to a good habit. And someone else who's going to be speaking here, Seth Godin, had a very nice little quote about this, where he said the best way to change long-term behavior is with short-term feedback. And one way to think about that is that long-term behaviors, sticking with writing for years on end or going to the gym and so on, they have those delayed consequences. So you need a way to enjoy it in the moment. So here's what I think you should do. Get a wall calendar where you can see every day of the year mapped out on it. And then any day that you do your task of writing jokes for 15 minutes, I want you to just put an X on that day. And you'll have a couple false starts here and there, but at some point you're going to get a little bit of a chain going, right? You get 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days in a row. And at that point, your only goal becomes to don't break the chain. Doesn't matter how good or how bad the jokes are, doesn't matter if it makes it into your material, just don't break the chain. What's interesting about this is that by measuring your progress, you get an immediate reward in the moment, right? The reward of like having a great stand-up routine 40 days from now or 40 weeks from now or whatever, is not, it's so delayed that you need something in the moment that makes you feel good. So if you do those 15 minutes, you can cross that off. That's a way to get an immediate hit, a little bit of a reward by tracking it. We often fear that in order to achieve something new, to become someone new, we have to abandon everything that we are. But in fact, that's not how it works. Change can happen plank by plank, board by board, habit by habit. And gradually, you can become someone new. With consistency and repetition, you can actually change not only your results, but actually your identity. Is because the more evidence that we have for a belief, the more likely we are to believe it. So if you go to church every Sunday for 20 years, you believe that you are religious. If you study Spanish every Thursday night for 20 minutes, you believe that you are studious. The actions that you take provide evidence for who you are. And it's not that habits matter more necessarily on an individual basis. Each moment in life matters. But what ends up happening is that over the broad span of time, things that you do once or twice fade away, and things that you do time after time, day after day, week after week, accumulate the bulk of the evidence for what you believe about yourself. And so every action that you take is actually a vote for the type of person that you want to become. If you want to become someone new, then you can take a new action and begin to accumulate evidence for that identity, for that belief about yourself. And that the more votes that you cast, the more likely you are to win the election. You don't need to be unanimous. You don't have to be perfect all the time. You just need to have the body of work. So true change is actually not behavior change, it's not results change, it's not process change, it's identity change. The goal is not to read a book, it's to become a reader. The goal is not to write a book or write an article, it's to become a writer. The goal is not to run a marathon, it's to become a runner, to become a type of person, to develop an identity. And the way to being something or becoming someone is through doing something. So every time you sit down to write, every time you practice that habit, you are being a writer. Every time you play a sport, you're being an athlete. Every time you practice painting or music or whatever, you're being an artist. And habits are not only the method through which we achieve external measures of success, like losing weight or earning more money or meditating and reducing stress. They are also the path through which we achieve internal change and actually become someone new. They're the path through which we forge the identity that we have, the deepest beliefs we have about ourselves, our sense of self. And so if you can change your habits, you can change your life. Thank you.
Okay. Now, what a profound last statement there. I love what he says there, that your habits, every action you perform is a vote for the type of person that you want to be. Okay, so think about that. Now, you guys are young. Most of your bad habits have limited consequences. Okay, you have probably, hopefully in your case, you have a good metabolism. So when you overeat, even at a regular basis, it's okay. But I promise you guys, once you hit 30, everything changes. Okay, so and obviously you have time to change, but every time you overeat, you are voting to be an obese person. Okay, that's kind of like that's what you're saying you're becoming or you want to be. So every time you make a bad decision, you're voting for that type of personality. Every time you have an action that is a good action, a positive action, for example, every time you read a little bit of a book, you're casting a vote of becoming someone that gains knowledge through reading. Okay, it is a vote for the type of person you want to become. Good. Now, in the in the talk, he adjusts his what is it? His style a little bit compared to the book. So in the talk, he talks about the 4 stages of habit formation, and he talks about noticing, wanting, doing, and liking. The 4 stages of habit formation. So in the noticing, so in the book, he rather speaks about 4 laws of habit formation, which line up with these 4 stages. So I'm going to look at the laws that he looks at. But before we do, let's just look at some of the most important habits that we should, like these are non-negotiable habits for your life. You all should be applying these habits in your life in order to accomplish your success. So let me just share the screen again. Okay, the most essential habits that you should cultivate in your life. So look at these habits and think of yourself, if you have these habits as part of your life. Like, is it stuff you do every single day without fail, and they are casting votes for the type of person you want to be? The first and foremost, this might be different depending on your religious conviction, but the first and foremost, for anyone that believes that he is here because God made him, is obviously prayer and reflection. So if you believe that there's a mind behind the universe, that God created you, but you think you can just go about life without connecting to God and drawing from God the strength, the wisdom, the insight, the courage that you need in order to accomplish the things that He has for you in your life. If you think you can do that without Him, then obviously you are wrong. Okay, so for anyone that starts with the idea that my origin, I was made by God, the most important habit for you to have in your life is prayer and reflection, thinking about your life, thinking about God, thinking about His purposes for your life. Even if you don't believe in God, that the idea of reflecting about your life, thinking about yourself, looking at yourself externally is a very high and essential habit for success. Okay, so that's the first thing. Just a little story on my side. I get to preach every now and then in our church, which I love. As I said, I'm a teacher, so I love preaching. And I read a book, and in this book, the guy was making a statement. He says, if a preacher doesn't pray at least 2 hours a day, he's not worth his salt. I'm like, what? 2 hours a day? I hardly, at that stage, I probably didn't even pray 2 hours a week in total. And it blew me away that there's people that can pray so much. So by reading that book, I was really challenged to make prayer a more cultivated habit in my life, to try and pray an hour in the day, in the morning, and an hour in the evening. And that is challenging, but it shaped me. It's changed my life completely. It really has had a huge impact in my life, prayer and reflection. The second one, being organized. I didn't realize how important it was until, and I'm giving Hannah incredible, what is it? The word is failing me now. But anyway, so I was asking the student ambassadors at some point, share a little bit of your bad habits and your good habits. And Hannah struggled to find bad habits in her life, but she began by saying she's an organized person. And what I realized about that is that when you're organized, all of your other bad habits are diminished. Because one of the bad habits that we have, for example, is we don't eat healthy. But the reason why we don't eat healthy is because there's not healthy food in the cupboard. And the reason why there's not healthy food in the cupboard is because I don't have time to cook healthy food or to go to the shops or whatever. So the moment you're unorganized, it has a bunch of other effects in your life. You don't have time for exercise. You go to bed late. You forget people's birthdays, things like that. So all other kinds of things start being affected because you are not good, and there's no such thing as time management. Like, everyone gets the same amount of time in the day. There's only such a thing as self-management. If you're not good at managing yourself, then all other bad habits will have a better or a stronger influence in your life. So again, for me, when I realized this, now I never had a planner, guys. I mean, this is the first time in my life that I had a planner, and I sit every single day and I'll give some pointers on how. Well, I'm not a good person to follow because I'm a novice at this, but it's really been very helpful to get a structure to my day, plans for myself, plan my weeks, plan my year, have an idea of what is happening this week, what is happening in the coming month, etc., etc. So being more organized, very essential habit. Now, the third thing, so I'm not really trying to prioritize it here in terms of what's most important, although this order is, I think, for me, definitely an order of importance. But another one is reading and learning. Again, guys, the biggest problem for humans is we don't know what we don't know. Okay, write that down. I don't know what I don't know. So if there's anything you don't know, you don't know it. Okay, and that's a huge problem. So the only way you can know what you don't know is by being exposed to things you don't know. How are you exposed to things that you don't know? Is by reading and learning, by having an attitude and a habit of reading. Reading, I mean, the Bible changed my life. That, I think, is one of the most important books to regularly read. But there's obviously a host of other sources. I just explained to you how it was reading a book where I was challenged to pray more in my life. It is this reading these books that I've been reading that has shaped the content that I have been giving you guys. I didn't know these things. I didn't apply these things in my life. I did it because I read and I was exposed to people that are successful, that has gone through challenges, that have put together systems to help people succeed. And so reading, I know young people are very lazy at reading, and if you read, you probably read more fiction because it's more fun. And there's nothing wrong with reading fiction, but obviously expose yourself to books by people that will have a positive influence in the way you think and that challenge you. When, like, at the end, and that was, for example, this book that I read about prayer, like, I never finish reading a book because it gets boring. But the benefit of this book was that on every single page, I was being challenged. And just felt like, whoa, that's intense. That's so profound and life-forming. And that's the same with these books that I've been reading as well. Atomic Habits, like, such helpful content to help you improve in small ways. And then the last thing is being healthy, of the most essential habits. Guys, you are, if you are not healthy, then you are not at your optimal performance. And this is now true whether you are young or old. If you're not eating healthy, you're not thinking healthy. One of the fittest people in the world at the top of his career was Garry Kasparov, the one of the top chess players of all time. Even the current chess champion, his name is Magnus Carlsen, is super fit because they realize how important it is, not just fit, healthy, eating healthy, because they realize how important it is, even though they exert themselves over a chessboard. Okay, everything that they need in order to operate at an optimal level is in their health, is that their brain is getting enough oxygen, has the right sustenance from what they've eaten, etc. So that is another essential habit in order to have in your life. These are not all the essentials. I'm sure there's more, but they are some of the most essential habits. So look at those ones. Which of these ones do you think is the least active in your life? You should have all of them, but which one do you think you should make the most effort of making it a habit in your life? So choose one for now, for the next exercise. I'm just going to give you some pointers on how to start. Okay. Okay, so now you've identified. Now here are the laws, the 4 laws for habit formation. The first one is to make it obvious. The first law is to make it obvious. Just one moment. In the video, you guys will have seen, or might remember, that he said is that most of us, we want to feel, and this used to be the case for me. Like, I thought at some point I'll feel like doing exercise. So I wasn't doing exercise yet. I told you guys that before. I felt like, at some point I'll feel more like it, because I never felt like exercise ever. I still don't. But so if you are going to depend on the way that you feel, it's never going to happen. So the law is just make it obvious. Plan for it. Like, have a plan. Okay. So my plan for exercise, for example, was I'm going to do it in the mornings at 7 o'clock. I chose 10 minutes only 10 minutes, and I'm going to do weights because I've got weights. That's what I'm going to do. So I had a plan. So tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock, so that's when I made the decision. That morning, 7 o'clock, I started. Okay, I'll show. So here's I take notes of my exercises that I do and the weights that I lift. Okay, this will all make sense to you. So I write down what routine I'm going to do, and I did it. And I was consistent with it. And then you'll see the thing that he says is also have a little bit of a post-mortem exercise. Think about, okay, I'm going to think of myself in 6 months' time. Now, guys, go and do this. Don't just listen to me and like, oh, that's cool. Go and actually do it. Go do a post-mortem and say, okay, in 6 months' time, let's assume I failed. What would have been the reason why I failed? For me, was holidays. Okay, what would make me fail is during holidays, I get lazy. I start eating too much. I start just not feeling like it. Okay, so holidays were going to disrupt it. If I'm disorganized, for example, let's say I spent last night just watching YouTube videos late until the night. So the next morning, oh, I'm too tired to get up. Obviously, so I started thinking of those two things, and then you start making plans. Okay, what needs to change so that that doesn't happen? Okay, so I made plans. On a Sunday, we take Sundays off completely. So on Sundays, I don't exercise. So on Monday, I'm going to do it twice. I'm going to do it at 7 in the morning. And so that was just an example of how I made it. So make it obvious. Another thing for me was about planning my day. So when am I going to plan my day? So every morning, so I had a plan on how I'm going to plan my day. Every morning when I wake up, which is about 4:30, I make tea. Okay, I make chai tea for me and my wife, and I wait for 10 minutes for the chai tea to boil. Okay, usually I sit on YouTube and do YouTube shorts. I go dirty slob, but no, why not take that time and spend that time planning my day? Okay, so that's the first law, is have a plan, make it obvious, like make it a part of your life. Things that you're already doing, just slot it in there and start small. Okay, we'll get to that. That's the next thing. Make it attractive. Okay, so making it attractive is about wanting to do it. And what he was saying there is that you can never be consistent with your habits if you don't make it, if you don't, if you find yourself in an environment that is contrary to your habits. So for example, the example that I keep thinking of is if you want to eat healthy, but there's a bunch of chocolates in your cupboard, you're not going to make it. Okay, the temptation is too big. And so maybe this doesn't apply to you because you guys don't buy groceries every month. But if you're someone that goes to buy groceries every month, and you have a little sweet budget, a little chocolate budget, obviously you are designing your environment for failure. So you need to be, and I love that phrase he uses. He says you can be the architect of your environment. Build an environment where this is going to work. For example, if you want to read, put your book on your pillow before you go to bed at night. I'm trying to give another example, but I'm seeing where it's going to fit. Okay, so things like that is make it a part of your existing routine. Change your environment. So for example, for me, I got a book for my exercise. I got another book for my planning my day. I made sure that I always have a pen in my bag, so that I'm never looking for a pen and then just giving up because I need to write this down. Think about your environment and what needs to change in your environment that will make it easier for you to do it. Another thing in wanting to do it is, guys, start super small. In the book, he says start with 2 minutes. Like if you're going to do something that you don't like doing, just choose 2 minutes. You can't do 2 minutes. For my exercise, I chose 10 minutes, and I'm on 20 minutes now. Because why? On day 1, I started with 10 minutes. On day 2, I added 1%, which is 6 seconds. So I'm now on 21 minutes of exercise a day by just increasing it every day. I increased my weights or my time, whatever it was, just 1% every day. And that improved over time, so that I actually split it up in a morning and an afternoon routine now. in the morning with my young oldest son, and in the evening with my youngest son, we do calisthenics because he's a gymnast. Okay, so that's just an example. In the yeah, so start small. It's just easier to get started, and then you grow with a little bit every single day. Okay, so think now of ways. So you guys must go through these laws. Take some time afterwards. Go through these laws and think of the first law, okay, is make it obvious. Okay, how can I just make it a part of my life? How can I plan for it? Secondly is how can I construct my environment so that it makes sense? It's just a part of what I already do. I just add a little 2 minutes of this every single day, and I increase my time over time. And that is the next, actually that's the next thing, is make it easy. Making it easy is sorry, I actually jumped ahead a little bit, is by, instead of doing 30 minutes of exercise, like I started exercising with a friend of mine last year. Like this guy is probably deadlifting like 150 kilograms already. So he's amazing. Like he inspired me so much, but I couldn't keep up with it. It was just too intense. And so I gave up after a while. Okay. So I started it. It was fun. It was good, but it was too intense. So to start now, I'm much more consistent because I started easy. I grew at a certain pace, and now I'm much better than I was last year. But it's because he says, don't optimize for the finish line, optimize for the beginning. Make it simple, start simple, and then increase over time. Another example that I had was, man, guys, I wish I had a picture. I wish I could show you what my office looked like 3 months ago. This place was just papers all over my desk, things all over my floor. If I opened my drawer, you can look at my drawer now. Can you see my drawer?
Sorry, so your camera is off. We can't
Put
see.
my camera on. Sorry. So now I can see my drawer is organized. I can show you in those cupboards how organized those cupboards are now. But now, how did I do it? Did I take one day and just organized everything? Now, you know how I did it? Is every time I left my office, I just took one thing that's not in its place. So I started taking the habit, making it a habit that every time I leave a room, it must be neater than when I found it. Now, I come into this room, obviously, 4, 5, 6 times a day. So every time I came in and I left, it was slightly neater than it was before. And now I just make sure that every time I leave it neater than I found it, but I can't even tidy it up anymore. Basically, the same in my room. I got like a whippy full of clothes. It was, so my wife says this book by James Clear changed her life, because I had this whippy of clothes in the room. Every time I get undressed and dressed up, just place my clothes on this whip, and it's got bigger and bigger. And then once a week, I clean it out and throw in the wash what it needs to. Now, if I leave my room, I must make sure that it's tidier than I found it. So small things, because I didn't mess it up that much. But when I mess it up a little bit every day, it becomes a big mess. But when I clean it up a little bit every day, it becomes neater and neater and neater. Okay, so it's a habit, it's a small thing, it's a small change, but it made a huge difference. Like, I'm so proud of my office, obviously, because I've shown you guys my desk like 7 times in the last few weeks, because it's really made a change in my life. Okay, so make it obvious. Not make it easy, make it easy. So the point that he made there is that what we need to understand is our goal, like, we're going to now put things in place that will end up eventually accomplishing our goals. So somewhere on a list of repetitions. So for example, one of my goals is I want to be able to deadlift. I don't know if you guys know what a deadlift is. If you don't, Google it. But I want to be able to deadlift double my body weight. Okay, that's one of my goals. And obviously, I can't just do that. I'm not going to wake up one day and be able to deadlift double my body weight. But if I do enough repetition of small things, aggregated improvements over time, at some point, I'll deadlift double my body weight. And that's just his point. All we need to do is get a system of small aggregate changes that eventually will accomplish. And now I just need to do the reps. I just need to continue to do it. And the only problem is maybe at some point I will stop liking what I'm doing. And so the fourth law is to make it rewarding. And for me, as you guys know, I enjoy the maths. So for example, I love working out. What is 1% extra on yesterday's exercise? Okay, how much is it today? Obviously, you love seeing the improvement in your physique as time goes by, and you see, wow, look, this is actually working. I'm looking healthy. I'm looking better. Those type of things. The thing that he recommends is that you keep track of your, keep record of you keeping to your habits. So whatever habit you choose, he says, okay, now do it every day until you're at a certain point, and then just do it every day. And now the reward is trying to, not the reward, the aim is just don't break the chain. Like, it's so rewarding to know, man, I have done this every single day for, I started my planner, my exercise date. I started a little bit later than I actually started, was on the 15th of May. And I have a full record that I have consistently exercised every single day, except for Sundays, till 15th of August. What's that? Okay, it's not that much. 3 months. But it's never been the case in my life. Okay, why? Because it's rewarding to be able to tick off. There's a little bit of dopamine that is released in your head that makes you feel good about yourself when you keep track of your progress. And so to make that in a way that you actually enjoy, for me, I like doing the calculations. I like writing it down, seeing the improvement over time. Maybe you can make a chart or exercise, a graph or something like that. Depends now on what you're doing. Find a way so that you can actually track your progress, because in the act of tracking your progress, there is reward in seeing the improvement. Okay, as I went over a little bit there, but that is where I'm going to stop us, or at least where we're going to stop me, and that's the end of this series, actually. Although I might have 1 or 2 more sessions coming up. I would just like to speak to the dynamic program students to explain the assignment. So we'll do that just now. I do want to just give you an opportunity to also respond or say something or ask questions or make a comment. Okay. Sorry, I didn't see the people I had to go. Okay, nothing. You guys are quiet. Okay. Cool. Great. If you're good to go, then you're welcome to sign off. I am going to then just quickly explain to the dynamic program students what their assignment is. Okay.
Bye, sir.
Thanks, Sharon. Bye-bye. Okay.
Bye, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Aaron. Bye for coming.
Have a good day.
Okay, cool. Okay, I lost some that's actually supposed to be, I'm sure, to Neil's dynamic program. Okay, guys, but let me quickly show you just your they're the same for grade 10 and 11. You'll see there it is. Your assignment is the assessment choose to change. It's basically self-explanatory, but it's based on what we said last week, what we spoke about. So it's the instructions is that you think about the person you want to become or an identity you want to embody. So, for example, the very good example that you guys gave is to be a disciplined person. So consider the qualities, the behaviors, the attitudes, the successes that you admire and aspire to achieve. So think now really clearly, have a clear picture in your mind. And so the first instruction is write down a description of this ideal self. What traits does a person like this possess? How do they handle challenges? What habits do they have? Okay, so think about that, and write down as much as you can. Think about what you would look like if you were this person, let's say a disciplined person. What would it look like? Obviously, you'd have things like the time that you wake up in the morning, the consistency of that, even if it's weekends or holidays, like discipline. So think through what discipline means. You can go look it up. Go ask GPT. I don't care. Just get a picture, a clear, thorough picture in your mind of what that is going to look like, and write it down. Okay, so that the first thing is write down the description. And then for the next 30 days, you must act as if. So live each day as if you are already that person. So embody this identity for the next 30 days. Now, I already posted this last week. So the deadline is the 13th of September. You guys can hand it in a little bit later. Just don't go later than the 19th of September. Okay, so embody the characteristics and behavior of your ideal self in daily activities. Approach situations with the mindset and the confidence that that this person would have. Okay, so whatever you are embodying, that's the big assignment. Okay, maintain consistency. Commit to this new identity every day for 30 days. Consistency is the key to this transformative effect. Okay, keep a daily journal to track your progress. Again, guys, you don't have to make a big thing about it. Just write down every day something about how this impacted you. Did you note how you felt, what actions you took, any challenges you faced? Again, don't take 2 minutes, write something down about today and how it went with you embodying this this identity. Monitor your progress. Okay, so pay attention to any changes in your life, including the way you think, your emotions, your interactions, and outcomes. Okay, so maybe in your little journal that you're just going to keep track of, write down these things: thoughts, emotions, interactions, and outcomes. And if you notice any changes in yourself in these 4 categories, then note them down. Okay, I realized I actually I am less emotional because I'm more well rested. Like, I'm just using an example, because I've been consistent in going in my bedtime pattern or whatever. Okay, use your journal to reflect on these changes, both positive and negative, and how adopting this new identity have impacted you. Okay, so that's what I just explained. So have those 3 categories, 4 categories, and note positive and negative changes that you've noticed. Okay, now after 30 days, at the end of the 30 days, after reflect on the experience, how did this challenge affect you? What changes did you notice? Were you able to maintain consistency throughout the challenge? Okay, so at the end of 30 days, you submit your completed journal, everything that you now wrote down about your journal. So it's probably going to be like 30 pages of reflection. Let's make it less. Let's make it 4 weeks, six days a week. I also want you guys to, you're more than welcome to do it 7 days a week, but at least 24 entries in which you are recording what is happening. What specific changes did you notice in yourself over the 30 days? So now at the end, you're just going to answer these 4 questions. How consistent were you to act as your ideal self? What was the biggest challenge you faced? How did you overcome them? Challenges you faced. How has this challenge affected your view of yourself and your potential for growth? Okay. And that's it. So does that make sense? Do you guys understand what is expected of you?
Yes, I do have a question though. I actually made a little book. Okay, now I have to switch on my camera. But I made this book. Hold on.
You're so cool, Daniela.
That was when I was because you say we have to track. Hello, I made this book. It's like goal setting
Oh,
And
that's
I was inspired when you said that you have to write your goals every day. So
yeah.
this is what I was planning to do. If I track my stuff in this book, how would I submit it?
So
It'll be like
yeah. Yeah, so in the end, you submit the same way you do your assignments and things. Just take photos with your phone. So obviously, just maybe choose the back end of that book, the last 30 pages, so that you don't disrupt what you're tracking now on your goals. So yeah, so do that. Is that fine?
yeah, I use a scanner, but I think I
Oh,
can
is it?
scan. I think I
Okay,
could,
well,
but I could try the picture. I could try that.
obviously, do you use the scanner, the feeder?
Mm.
Oh, I see.
My printer, yeah.
Try,
But
try
I can do the picture
yeah.
one because I do
Yeah,
have the
try
app.
Cam Scanner. I think it works excellent. So
Cam
yeah, that's a suggestion for a solution, but obviously any solution. Cool.
Thank you. I'll do
Kate, so
that.
you fine. Any questions on your end? Okay, I think you probably signed out of the one. I saw you signed in twice where you could speak. Okay, cool. I see there. Cool. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Thanks, Danielle. Thanks, Kate.
Thank you, sir.
Have a lovely week.
You too, sir. Goodbye.
Thanks. Bye, guys.